Hello, and welcome to the Rise Up Buttercup Podcast, where we have one mission: to empower women across the world.
And I'm saying no way, I'm going my own way, and you can't stop me, 'cause I'm loving myself, oh no way, this is my own way, and you can't stop me, 'cause I'm loving myself.
Hello, my friend, and welcome to another episode of the Rise Up Buttercup Podcast. My name's Amy Gerhartz. I am your host and your coach. I'm so happy you're here today. I've got a company called A Higher Way of Living, where, as you heard in my intro, I am on a mission to empower women across the world in their confidence, their communication skills, and their leadership skills. And so if you are listening to this and you struggle in any of those areas, then my friend, you are in the right space. And if you know of anyone who might struggle in these areas, feel free to share this audio or this video, if you're watching on YouTube, with them, and to just send folks my way. The more people we share this podcast with and we share these videos with, the bigger impact we can make across the world. And I truly believe that we all grow when we're growing together. So with that being said, I would love to dive into the conversation today all around living into possibility. What does this mean? How do we get there? How does this support us in our lives, especially if we are on a personal development journey or really any journey? How do we start living into possibility and slowly begin breaking away from probability? So let's dive in, grab a pen and paper, or, just find a space where you can really lean in with me for the next 20 minutes or so. And I can give you some pointers on how you can use possibility to enhance your life and to support you in getting to where you really, really want to be. So first, let's talk about what does it mean to live into possibility and why would we want to live into possibility? Now, you've probably heard other coaches talk about a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And if you haven't, it's okay. I'll do a quick recap here for you. A fixed mindset is someone who says, this is how it is. This is how it's always be. I have nothing left to learn. And this is just the outcome of my life. And this is just final. It's a very final way of looking at life. Someone with a growth mindset is kind of the opposite. It's the, hey, I've learned from my experiences. I'm constantly growing. I'm constantly getting better. And I have continuous learning that I can do. This is not the final place of my life. I can always get better. I can always grow. That's why we call it a growth mindset, because when you are in this mindset of growth, you're constantly evolving and constantly learning. Now, why would you want to be in a growth mindset? Well, in my experience, most of the time when someone's in a fixed mindset or this mindset of everything is just the way it is and it cannot change, everything's very final, it's very matter of fact, most of the time, those individuals in my experience tend to be very matter of fact and very for lack of a better word, pessimistic, pretty lacking of growth in their life. And, there tends to be just a very negative, pessimistic undercurrent or undertone to where they're at. Now, not all of the time. I haven't met every person with a fixed mindset, but just in my experience, a lot of folks who have a fixed mindset, there isn't a lot of optimism attached to it. So why would you want to move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset? Well, once again, in my experience, because I don't know all of you, and there are tons of coaches out there that hopefully will agree with me, but your mind is going to believe anything that you tell it. And you can live in a negative, pessimistic state, or you can live in a positive and empowering state. And I don't know about you, but most of the time when I'm living in a positive and empowering state, my life is just more enjoyable. It's just more fun. So when people ask me, why would I want to live in a growth mindset? I usually say, why wouldn't you want to live in a growth mindset? Unless you genuinely enjoy being unhappy or being negative, or maybe that's just a pattern you've developed, I think living in this space of optimism, and look, some of you might be realists listening to this, so optimism might be a little bit too much too soon, but living into this space of I can create my future, I can create something different, I can evolve into something different is just a hell of a lot more fun. For lack of a better way of saying it, it's just a lot more fun than being someone who is negative. And so for me, when I teach my clients about the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, the other great thing about a growth mindset is that you can always get back up and try again and get back up and try again and get back up and try again. And so you're not focusing on the negativity or the failure or the final aspect of where you are. You're focusing on, okay, I can continuously get better and grow and evolve. And like I said, most of the people that I know that lean into this growth mindset just have more enjoyable lives. And so now it leans into this idea of possibility. So if we're developing into this growth mindset, if we're developing into this space of possibility, it begs this question, what is possible? What can I create? What can I do? And the reason I like to start most of my clients here when we begin a coaching journey is because I think so many folks, when they come into a space of looking for support, looking for coaching, they've been focusing on that negativity for so long. And so it's important to shift that focus into something positive and empowering. Now, when we start to shift that focus of possibility, it's really opening up our brain to discover, all right, what could be different? And it's just asking questions. What could be different? What could I create? What's possible for my life? And here is the big thing that I think is also important. When you're living into the space of possibility and asking these questions, and perhaps listener, you're right now jotting a few of these down on a piece of paper or typing them in the notes section of your phone. But when you start asking these questions of what can I create? What's possible? You start opening up the brain to creativity. You start opening up and expanding the brain to think a little bit outside of the box. Now, here's what's really cool about this. When we start to think outside of the box, we start to explore things once again from a bit of a beginner's mindset. And in coaching, this idea of a beginner's mind is almost taking this childlike approach to the things around us, this childlike discovery of, okay, well, just because things have been this way, what if they could be this way? And it's asking these what if questions. What if I could have something different? What if I could have a better career? What if I could have a better relationship? What if I could make more money? What would my life be like if I could do those things? And so it's going into this space of discovery. And that is what living into possibility does, because you're almost priming your mind for something new by just asking simple questions and by just exploring simple questions. So listener, I'd love to challenge you to take some of these questions into your own life right now and think about, are you someone that's been living from a fixed space of this is the way it is, this is the way it's always been? Or are you someone that could potentially shift into a space of growth of what could I create? What's possible? And when you go into that space of what's possible, you can ask a lot of these questions in your own life. And especially if you're someone who is starting a new journey. If you're starting a new relationship, you're starting a new job, this is the perfect time. If you're starting a new goal for yourself, the perfect time is right now to start living into this space of possibility. Now, when you start living into this space of possibility in your life, especially if you're in a new area of your life or a new phase of growing and creating things that are different and new, it's going to be very easy for some of your older programming and your brain to say, wait a minute, just because that's possible doesn't mean it's actually probable. And here's what I want you just to be aware of. Our brains are always trying to keep us safe. So they're always trying to keep us in a comfort zone of what we're used to. And if you're someone who's been used to a more negative thought pattern of thinking or living from this fixed space, then your brain's going to try to pull you back there because that's what it knows. So it's going to be important to combat some of this with a little bit of what I call self-parenting when this negative thought comes in of, okay, well, that's not really probable. It's not probable that you'll make $1 million. It's not probable because you've always been this way or you've always had this income. It's important for you to say, okay, sure, it's not probable, but is it possible? And to continuously correct yourself and say, is it possible? And here's an example of how I do this. Because for me, I use this example with my clients all the time. I will never be a 6'4" basketball player for the NBA. I'm 5'3". I am terrible at basketball. And it is very probable that I will never be a 6'4" basketball player and play in the NBA. It's just a pretty strong probability. But here's where I'll question it. Is it possible? Now, I'm not saying I'm going to have an NBA career. I'm not saying that I'm ever, going to make money playing basketball or ever be good at it. But is it possible that I could put on some 11-inch shoes? And is it possible that I might know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that works for the NBA? And is it possible that they might need a guest person at the game to do a shot, like for a charity event someday? Yes, it's absolutely possible. It's probable? I don't know. That's a stretch, but it's absolutely possible. So this is what I mean when I say start to allow your brain to think a little bit outside of the box from probability into possibility. Now, me playing basketball in the NBA is not even close to a dream of mine. So I'm not going to be heartbroken if it doesn't happen. But I want you to see how the wheels can change and how my creativity can be tapped into of living into this space of possibility, right? It is probable that I will not wake up tomorrow with $1 million in my bank account because I don't have $1 million in my bank account today. But is it possible that somebody could make a glitch in a system somewhere and there could be $1 million in my bank account tomorrow? Sure. Anything is possible. So it's the idea of just opening and expanding the mind, opening up and expanding the mind to what could be different. So when it comes to your own life, how can you start to open and expand your own mind to ask these questions of what is possible? What could be different? And be really aware too, listener, where are you getting in your own way by trying to pull yourself down to probability? And I'm foreshadowing where I think you're going to go with this because I have so many people I meet that do not like to live into possibility and they enjoy living in probability because they don't want to be disappointed. If that resonates with you, just take a minute and take a deep breath with me. So many people don't want to live into possibility because of the fear of disappointment, and it's easier to live into probability. Here's how you can combat that fear. The fear of disappointment is very real. But if you're constantly living from a space of fear and fear of being disappointment and staying in probability because of that fear, then you're going to miss out on so many possible things that could happen in your life. And so here's what I do. Whenever some of that fear comes in of, I don't want to dream. I don't want to really think outside the box because what if it doesn't happen? What if I can't get to where I want to be? What if I live into this space of anything's possible and then nothing happens the way I expect it to happen? You can live into possibility without having expectations. And if you can learn how to balance this idea of, I'm going to wake up every day and just see what happens. And I'm going to work for the things that I want and just see what happens. And I'm going to show up into this space of anything's possible and then allow my life to happen without any expectations whatsoever. My friend, you will be pleasantly surprised. I have had so many situations of things that have happened in my life that I never would have imagined happening just because I was open to possibility, just because I opened the door. And so if you're someone right now that's listening to this and you're kind of feeling a little bit of fear come up, you're feeling a little bit of resistance come up, all I want you to do today is play around with opening the door. What would it look like if you just opened the door into possibility for your life? What would it look like if you said, you know what? It's probable that I might be in the exact same space next year or the year after or the year after that. But what if I'm not? What's possible? What could I create if I just showed up every day living into this space of possibility versus probability? And you really get to put on every day what I call these big Elton John glasses, right? Of just exploring the world in Technicolor, exploring the world from this open space, from a space of what's possible. What could I create? What could I do differently? Where could I go? Where could I live? Who could I date? How could my life be different? And by the way, different doesn't necessarily mean better or worse. It's just different. And so it's not about necessarily getting rid of everything you've done in your life or leaving your family or leaving your job and running off into the mountains. This is all just about expanding on the good that's already happening in your life and taking it to just another level of possibility. Being able to wake up every day and say, I am so excited to see what happens today has been such a game changer for me and my clients. Being able to expand my mind and my thinking around what is actually possible in my life has helped to push me through some of those fears and push me through some of that resistance and that hesitation and that procrastination and then the, curling back up into a ball and not doing anything at all. Shifting your mind is the one thing, my friends, that you have so much control over. And now, clinical mental diagnosis aside, most human beings have a lot of control over the things that they see every day, the things that they view, the way that they control themselves in their lives. So if you are someone that has that ability, and if you are someone that is not limited by a mental illness, because I want to be very aware of the fact that there are people that struggle with mental illness, and it is a very serious thing. It is not my area of expertise. That would be a counselor or a therapist or a psychiatrist. As a coach, I am all about the future and how do we get you from one place to the next and where you want to be. So if you're listening to this, I don't want to be insensitive to any mental illness by any means. But I do want to say that for most of us that don't struggle with that, we have so much control. We have so much control. And if we can just start to expand a little bit day by day, and I'm not telling you to do leaps and bounds, but to expand a little bit day by day into living into possibility and what could that actually look like for your life, I guarantee, well, I can't guarantee anything. I would love to guarantee, but I don't know all of you, but I would be shocked if you do not feel leaps and bounds better every single day because you're exploring from this space of openness. And when you explore life from a space of being open and living into possibility, you're opening the door for things to come your way. I do believe in energy. I do believe in the law of attraction. Now, you got to do something in order to attract things to you. You can't just sit on your couch. But when you approach life from an open space, you're opening the door to receive. Whereas if you approach life from that fixed mindset of probability and this is the way it is and it's probably not going to happen for me and it's probably always going to be this way versus I can explore this and live into the space of possibility, it's so exponentially different. So my friend, this is a great concept I would love to have you start implementing into your life if you are someone wanting something different. Asking yourself every day, what's possible? When your feet hit the ground every morning, asking yourself, what could happen today? What could be created today? What could be different today? And then just approach life with no expectation. and allow yourself to be open to having that beginner mind of just exploring things from a childlike space of discovery and see what happens. So I hope this supports you today. This little discussion that we've had about living into possibility and how it can support you in your own life. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at any time. And don't forget to look down in the comments. There is a free instant confidence guide for you. Feel free to share it with anyone you know. And remember that you are one of a kind and absolutely worth it. And I'll see you next time.